we've been talking about voter suppression for quite some time of what's going on here, and we see what continues to happen, that this is, frankly, standard policy on the Republican Party. And so I was talking about that, and so this weekend, when they had the young black conservatives gathering, Deborah, which was interesting because they would, wouldn't let a lot of black media actually cover it, including us, about pulling the press credentials, but you want to reach black folks. And so one of the folks who was on social media talking about that was Robert Maxwell, Deputy Communications Director for the Arizona Republican Party and also Director of the Arizona Black Conservative Federation. And so he wanted to challenge me to this conversation. I said, fine, you want to do that? Come on, so we can have that conversation. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, one of our partners here, Trans Real Estate. If you're looking for a hot new investment opportunity, I have two things I want you to think about: legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, you just let that sink into your head for a second. Our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created a unique opportunity for everyday investors like you to get in the game for a minimum of $300 up to $10,000. Look, you get in where you can fit in. Now, typically, it takes millions, if not billions, to invest in the legal marijuana industry, and it can be pretty risky trying to establish market share. However, Transatlantic Real Estate is taking a different approach. They buy the land that supports marijuana grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. Now, imagine being a landlord to a licensed marijuana farm. With the prospects of further legalization and changing public perceptions about marijuana, some investors could end up making some serious money over the next several years. The best part is they're using crowdfunding so you can get in now before they take the company public. If you want to find out more information, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org to get in now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. So Robert joins us right now. So Robert, we saw the legal decision in Georgia today where the judge refused Brian Kemp's goal when it came to that particular injunction. We are still seeing what is taking place in many other states. This is real simple. Why aren't more black conservatives, black Republicans saying anything, calling out its party when it comes to the constant voter suppression they're engaged in?
Well, I think we should make it clear that voter suppression, what you guys call voter suppression on the left, we call voter integrity. And actually, black conservatives are doing a lot to make sure black votes are not suppressed. And what they're doing is they're taking a stance against illegal immigration and voter fraud in order to do so.
Got a question, Robert? Got a question for you. It's real simple. Real simple. How much voter fraud have we seen? What's the numbers?
Secretaries of states in liberal places like California won't even comply with President Trump's voter integrity commission.
Really?
So we actually don't know what the number is.
1 second, Robert. Robert, you said liberals?
2.8 illegal immigrants in this country, and that is not doing anything great for black votes and empowering the black vote.
Robert, you didn't answer my question. You actually said liberals, secretaries of state. I recall Chris Kobach was the co-chair of Trump's voter commission, correct?
If you say so.
Not if you say so, it's a fact. Chris Kobach was the co-chair of Trump's voter integrity commission, correct?
Okay.
Chris Kobach is the Secretary of State of Kansas, correct?
Okay.
Chris Kobach wouldn't even turn over his voter rolls. So you're complaining about so-called left states, but Chris Kobach, a Republican, Secretary of State of Kansas, who is running for governor of Kansas, would not even turn over his own data. So why aren't you criticizing the Republican secretaries of state who also would not turn over their data?
Because the Democrats have created a political environment to where solutions are not practical. If Kobach does that, if he complies with President Trump's very modest and ambitious goal to make sure that voter integrity is upheld, what do you think would have happened to him during his run for governor? You're smart, I'm smart, so let's not pretend that this one anchor statement on this one Republican somehow means that President Trump's voter suppression concept was moved.
Really? Let me ask you a question. Is this Robert, 1 second. Robert, 1 second. Robert got a question. Robert got a question.
Not giving me a chance to speak.
Robert, I got a question. Robert. I got a question.
Do you agree that illegal immigrants voting is bad for the black community?
Robert.
Will you agree that does not empower black votes?
Robert, this is what I know. A panel of Republican lawyers did their own study of voter fraud and found virtually none.
Really, virtually none. Texas Democrats just last week. There's an investigation into Texas Democrats just last week. They were sending voter registration ballots to illegal immigrants with the citizen box already checked.
Robert,
Robert,
here's what's amazing.
Let's not talk about voter suppression, which is a smokescreen used by liberals in order to scare and antagonize minorities.
Well, so if it's a smokescreen by liberals, why is it that when former North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory invited General Colin Powell to North Carolina, General Colin Powell, lifelong Republican, chastised McCrory to his face from the stage and chastised North Carolina Republicans for passing an onerous voter ID, voter suppression bill? That was Republican Colin Powell. How do you respond to that?
Because Republican Colin Powell is just as big of a rhino as any of these other never-Trumpers who do not want to see President Trump's America First agenda.
Robert, here's the problem, Robert, here's the problem. Robert,
I want for more than 15 seconds, Roland.
Robert, I'm gonna let you finish, but I want to give you facts. Colin Powell did this before Trump ran.
He did what before Trump ran?
Robert, I'm gonna let you talk, but I want you to have your facts straight. He called out Pat McCrory before Trump even ran. So you can't accuse Colin Powell of trying to thwart Trump's agenda when he called it out before Trump even announced. Now, how do you respond?
He called what out? Specifically,
he called out the onerous voter suppression bill that was passed in North Carolina that a federal court struck down and said that was discriminatory intent and that was a laser-like targeting of black voters. Are you defending that bill?
No, I'm defending the concept of voter suppression. Now, I know this is what you're going to try.
You're defending voter suppression?
Finish talking.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I can't wait to hear this one.
Let me finish. You're trying to pigeonhole me into one specific policy.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you a question, but go ahead.
I'm not a Carolina guy. All I know is the national talking point of voter suppression is not framed properly because African American votes are not empowered by illegal immigrants voting. You want to talk about voter suppression? Let's talk about illegal immigrants voting. Let's talk about restoring voter integrity into our elections, and let's not have dead people vote.
Robert,
like in California for the past 50 years, right?
Robert,
so that's for a genuine, legitimate discussion of voter integrity, not voter suppression. Let me tell you a couple of other things about voter suppression. Voter suppression is a term of art that was created by Democrats over the past decade in order to scare African Americans and make them think that Republican policies evoke Jim Crow-era regulations on voting. That is just patently false. In fact, I saw your little show yesterday.
What was patently false? I'm sorry, Robert. Robert? 1 second. What was patently false about North Carolina?
Stop. Voter suppression laws that you're talking about are voter ID laws. That's not voter suppression, Martin. All that is voter integrity. And in fact, 77% of non-whites support voter ID laws. So
Robert,
let's get the facts straight before you speak. I'm gonna let you speak. I just want you to get the facts.
Robert,
right? 77% of non-whites support voter ID laws.
Robert, this is the lead paragraph in a story from May 15, 2017. The Supreme Court on Monday refused to revive a restrictive North Carolina voting law that a federal appeals court has struck down as an unconstitutional effort to, quote, target African Americans with almost surgical precision. Robert, we also know that a state senator in Wisconsin admitted that the effort by Republicans in Wisconsin to raise the voter fraud flag was a joke. In fact, this Republican state senator in Wisconsin said he then hired his own people to go out to find voter fraud, and what he found were examples of voter fraud by Republicans. This is a Republican state senator who served more than 30 years. Also, 5 federal judges in Texas ruled that the voter ID law in Texas had discriminatory intent. A federal judge a week ago ruled that the Missouri Republican Secretary of State should not be running an ad saying that folks should be bringing their ID when they didn't have to. That happened just a week ago. Now,
that's
you can, now 1 second.
That's voter integrity.
Oh, that's voter integrity.
And let's talk. And let's get back on Texas. Like I just mentioned, and you were shockingly silent. Texas, literally, Democrats have been sending ballots with the "Are you a citizen?" voter registration cards with the "Are you a citizen?" already checked. You should look that up yourself if you haven't done the research.
Here's my
look
question.
This up. There's an
How
entire
many
investigation into this.
okay.
Texas Democrats. Oh, by the way, this past primary that we had here in Arizona, the Democrat Maricopa County recorder was disastrous. 6 hours waiting in line. People had to vote. In fact, some of the polling places. No, let me finish. Some of the polling places, Republicans showed up and they didn't even have a ballot there in their name. So what does this show us?
Oh,
this
really,
shows
Robert?
Us that voter suppression and concept of voter suppression or a voter incompetence happens along party lines.
Hey,
It's
Robert.
not something that Republicans try to do in order to disenfranchise
Robert.
the African community. However, people like
That's
yourself
a lie, Robert. You know you're lying.
do what you're paid to do, and you're essentially trying to create and invoke a certain fear in the black community.
No, I'm not. I'm stating fact.
Your votes.
Here's a fact, Robert. Robert, here's a fact. Here's a fact. A clerk.
In 2 states where Democrats are the ones doing and guilty of voter suppression. So
Answer this,
I don't know,
Robert.
You tell me, Democrats or Republicans?
Robert, answer this.
And Republicans are the only ones trying to bring integrity back to
No,
voting.
no, you're
And
not.
voter ID laws
Hey,
do that.
hey, Robert, this is
Voter ID
real
laws
simple.
do that.
Robert, let me give you some facts. A clerk in Wisconsin stated in 2016 she purposely removed an early voting location from a college campus to a far-out place because she said too many young folks vote Democrat. In 2016, Robert, a federal judge called in Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, to say why were they dragging their feet on delivering voter IDs. That's a fact. Robert, what's amazing to me is you want to throw out, illegal immigrants and how it's hurting black voters. Hold up. One second, Robert. Robert, you don't have, Robert, you have no evidence. You have literally no evidence. And the problem is, at Republicans, this is by design. Robert, we can go down the line. Florida, Mississippi. I'm not done. Florida. We just had the NAACP just won a case in Shelby County where Republicans were trying not to certify folks who registered to vote. So you're defending nonsense. The fact of the matter is you have black Republicans who have far more credibility than you. Black Republicans who actually have been, frankly, black Republicans longer than you've been alive, who say, you know what our party is doing is wrong. And for some reason, you literally are defending folks who are suppressing the vote, but then Republicans run around and say, oh, we voted for the Voting Rights Act. We voted for the Civil Rights Act. How can you, as a self-respecting black man, defend folks who are trying to actually keep others from voting?
I'd like to ask you the same question. How can you, as a self-respecting black man, encourage illegals to vote, which highly saturates the voting pool and makes black votes functionally useless?
And you have no proof.
Truth about how in Texas, Democrats are sending ballots with their citizenship box already filled in. I've heard no response from that. Additionally, I told you about what's taking place in California, where voter registration in some counties are at 100%.
Well, guess what, Robert? The reason we have attorney generals.
I don't understand how you, as a self-respecting black.
The reason we have attorney generals who also investigate those things. And all I'm saying is show the proof. But you know what, Robert? Hey, if you are more than happy, with voter suppression, that's fine. But I can guarantee you this here. But you said doesn't exist. Robert, this is real simple. I'm going to go down the line. This is the last one for you, Robert. This is the last one. I'm going to go down the line. Missouri, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas. You even had in Maine, where Republicans in Maine got rid of same-day voter registration when the citizens didn't even ask for them to do it. And what happened? The next year, the citizens put it back on the ballot, and then they said, no, what you did was wrong. So how is it that as a party, you keep trying to deny folks the right to vote? Go ahead, your final comment.
And let's talk about that. Let's talk about what citizens want. 77% of non-whites are in favor of voter ID laws.
Got it.
Why? Because they want their vote to count as Americans who's helped build this country. So my question to you is, why do Democrats not listen to their constituents and just accept voter ID laws? In fact, in 2002, voter ID laws were going to get passed as a part of the Help America Vote Act, and it almost got killed because Republicans tried to add voter ID laws to it, because Democrats don't want voter ID laws. Why? Why do you think that is, Roland? Because they have illegals voting. And I don't understand how you, as a black man who's supposed to be so pro-black, you're shocked that I didn't know who you were because you're so pro-black. You can't be so pro-black if you're letting illegals vote. which is saturating the black market. That's not empowering the black vote, Roland.
All right,
You know
Robert.
that.
Robert, it's all good. I thank you for coming on. You repeated the same talking points several times. I appreciate it, but it's a joke to somehow saying, illegals are voting. But again, Robert, I have you back on. I'm about to talk to Ben Jealous right now. No, Robert, I'm going to have you back on. But do me a favor, go find some new talking points because you keep repeating the same one over and over again. It's sort of redundant. But Robert,
I'm not sure if you're or if you're just ignoring it.
No, I'm not ignoring it, but I appreciate it, Robert. Thanks a bunch.